Welcome back to another episode of Train for Life Fitness Podcast.
It is great to be back.
So today we are fully activating what we call the deep dive protocol. We've gone through a pretty big stack of research, a lot of charts, and we are focusing our laser beam on one specific crucial document. It's titled The Importance of Muscle Mass for Longevity.
And this is, it's one of those topics that sounds so simple on the surface.
Right. Lift heavy thing.
Exactly. But when you actually peel back the layers of the physiology, it just completely changes how you view the human body.
It really does. And to set the scene for you listening, because we like to visualize things here, just imagine we aren't in a recording booth. The backdrop today is like a high-tech gym that collided with a biology lab.
Yeah, I see you.
We've got anatomical models of muscle fibers, cellular diagrams, and specifically this prominent image of a metabolism gauge that we are absolutely going to get into in a minute.
It's the perfect setting because that's exactly where this topic sits. It's where biological science meets physical effort.
Exactly. So, look, usually when people think about getting healthy or maybe aging well, the mental checklist is pretty standard, right? You know the drill. Eat your kale, lose a few pounds, check your cholesterol, maybe do some cardio until you're completely drenched.
And none of those are bad things. Look, cardio is great for your heart. Greens are essential. But if that's your entire list, you are missing a massive piece of the puzzle.
A huge piece.
I'd argue you're missing the actual foundation of the house.
And that missing foundation, according to all this research, is muscle mass.
Muscle mass, correct.
Now, I can already hear people's brains clicking. They hear muscle mass. They instantly think about aesthetics.
Oh, for sure. Bodybuilders in the 70s, oiling up.
Yeah, posing in mirrors. They just think it's vanity.
Precisely. And that is the single biggest misconception we are here to just completely dismantle today. Our whole mission for this deep dive is to prove that muscle isn't just about looking good in a t-shirt. It's not just for athletes.
It's more than that.
Muscle is, quite literally, your secret weapon for aging gracefully.
A secret weapon. I like the sound of that.
It really is. It functions like an organ. I mean, it releases hormones, it regulates entire systems. It is the key to staying independent, to avoiding serious illness, and keeping your energy high as the years tick by.
Okay, so let's unpack this. We have a roadmap. First, we're going to look at the science of your metabolism, the so-called metabolic engine.
Right.
Then we're going to talk about a pretty scary-sounding thing called sarcopenia. We'll do some actual math on protein, so get ready for that. And then we'll bust some common myths about age.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay, let's jump right in. Section 1, the metabolic engine. I mentioned that graphic, the metabolism gauge. It sort of suggests muscle isn't just passive tissue, right? It's active.
Right. This is the crucial unlock. Most people see body fat as stored energy, which it is, and muscle is just, structural stuff to move your bones around.
Yeah.
But muscle is what we call metabolically expensive tissue.
Metabolically expensive. What does that mean exactly?
It means that muscle costs your body energy just to exist.
Yeah.
Even if you were completely sedentary, just sitting on the couch watching a series, your muscle tissue is burning calories.
Wow.
Fat tissue, by comparison, is very cheap to keep. It just sits there. But muscle demands fuel constantly.
So just by having more muscle on my frame, I'm burning more calories right now just sitting here talking to you.
You are. It's like a car engine.
Yeah.
A massive V8 engine burns way more fuel at a red light, just at idle, than a little four-cylinder does.
Right.
By building muscle, you are upgrading your body's engine to a V8. You're increasing your resting metabolic rate.
That explains so much about why people with more muscle can manage their weight easier, but the research goes deeper. It talks about glucose disposal.
Yes, and this is the really critical medical side of it. Muscle acts as a glucose sink.
A sink.
Yeah. When you eat a carbohydrate, a bagel, an apple, doesn't matter. It breaks down into glucose in your blood. That sugar has to go somewhere. If it stays in the blood, it causes all sorts of damage. That's the path to type 2 diabetes.
Right. Right. High blood sugar is basically toxic over time.
Exactly. Now, you have two main places to store that sugar. Your liver and your muscles. The liver's a small tank. Fills up fast.
Okay.
Your muscles. That's the big tank. So the more muscle you have, the bigger that storage tank is.
So muscle is basically a sponge for blood sugar.
That is a perfect analogy. It just soaks up the glucose from the bloodstream to use as fuel later. It's why muscle mass is such a powerful buffer against insulin resistance. You're not just lifting weights, you're optimizing your body's entire fuel management system.
That is huge. So it's a metabolic regulator, not just a tool for lifting boxes, but an organ that manages your health.
Precisely.
Okay, this is where it gets a little, maybe a little terrifying depending on your age. We need to talk about the silent thief.
Ah, yes, sarcopenia.
Sarcopenia, it sounds like some obscure tropical disease, but it's happening to pretty much everyone, isn't it?
It is. The word itself comes from Greek. Sarx means flesh, and petenia means poverty.
Poverty of flesh, that is a grim visual.
It fits, though. Sarcopenia is the age-related loss of muscle mass and function. And here is the real kicker from the data. It doesn't start when you're 80. It starts in your 30s.
In our 30s, that seems incredibly early. Most people in their 30s feel like they're in their prime.
You might feel that way, but biologically, the tide is already turning. The data shows that after age 30, muscle just naturally starts to fade away unless you actively, consciously work to keep it.
How much are we talking about?
You can lose anywhere from 3 to 8% of your muscle mass per decade if you're inactive.
So if you do nothing, if you just live a normal life without any resistance training, you are literally slowly dissolving.
You are letting the engine rust out.
Yeah?
That's the best way to think about it. Your body's like a classic car.
Right.
If you just park it in the garage and never run the engine, never do maintenance, parts seize up, it rusts.
And the only way to stop the rust is to drive the car.
Exactly. You have to strengthen the muscles. It is the only way to slow this process down. You have to give the body a reason to keep that expensive tissue. If you don't use it, the body's efficient. It assumes you don't need it, and it breaks it down to save energy.
And the consequences are serious. This isn't just about your biceps getting a little smaller.
Oh, no. We are talking about functional weakness, reduced mobility. It is the slow decline that leads to frailty. It starts with simple things. You get tired faster, your balance is a little off, then suddenly it's a real difficulty standing up from a low chair.
So maintenance is absolutely mandatory. But it's not just about the muscles themselves. Which brings us to section 3, the body's armor. The research makes this fascinating connection between muscle and bone.
This is one of those connections that people so often miss. They think, I need to drink milk for my bones, and I need to lift weights for my muscles, as if they're two totally separate systems.
They're not.
They're mechanically linked.
Okay, so how does lifting a dumbbell help my actual skeleton?
It's called mechanical loading. When a muscle contracts, say you're doing a squat, that muscle pulls on the tendon, which then pulls on the bone. That stress, that pull, is a direct signal to the bone cells to lay down more mineral density.
So the bone literally feels the stress and gets stronger to handle it in the future.
Exactly. Your skeleton adapts to the load just like your muscles do. So the research is explicit. Exercises that build muscle also strengthen bones, which drastically reduces your risk of osteoporosis and fractures as you age.
Which is so critical. We all know a hip fracture in your 70s or 80s can be a life-altering event.
It can be catastrophic. But the armor idea goes even further. The analysis in the text describes muscle as a protective barrier against disease.
Yeah, I saw that list. It's impressive. Heart disease, obesity, even some cancers.
It's really remarkable. Higher muscle mass just directly correlates with a lower likelihood of all these serious health problems. It goes back to that metabolic regulation and the systemic inflammation control that healthy muscle provides.
And what about the direct longevity connection? I saw something about recovery and an amino acid reservoir.
This is a really cool concept. Think of your muscle as a savings account, but for protein.
Okay.
If you let's say you get a bad flu or you need surgery, your body goes into crisis mode. It needs massive amounts of amino acids to repair tissue to fight the infection.
And you're probably not eating much if you're that sick.
Exactly. So your body has to get those resources from somewhere. If you have high muscle mass, your body can break down a little bit of that muscle to fuel the immune response. You have a big savings account to draw from.
So someone with low muscle mass is basically living paycheck to paycheck biologically.
That's it. And when a crisis hits, they go bankrupt. The studies are clear. People with higher muscle mass survive critical illnesses and surgeries at much, much higher rates. It just makes you harder to kill.
I want to be harder to kill. It's a solid life goal. But let's shift gears. We've talked biology, cells, disease risk. What does this actually look like on a Tuesday afternoon? Let's talk about the independence factor.
This is the so what of it all. This is why it matters for daily life, even if you're not worried about dying tomorrow. It's about your quality of life.
The source gives some really simple, grounded examples. Carrying groceries, climbing a flight of stairs, getting out of a chair.
This sounds so mundane, right? Getting out of a chair. But just imagine for a second the day you can't do that without help.
That's the turning point.
That is the loss of independence. Muscle is freedom. It's the difference between living on your own terms, going where you want, lifting your own suitcase into the overhead bin, playing with your grandkids on the floor versus needing care.
It's the difference between participating in life and just watching it go by.
Precisely. Strong muscles make those everyday tasks effortless. If you struggle to carry a bag of groceries today, just imagine that in 20 years. But if you build that functional reserve now, you maintain that capacity for decades.
Okay, I think we have successfully made the case for the why. I'm sold. I don't want to be frail. I want to be a metabolic machine. So let's get into the how-to.
Let's do it.
What does the source material say we actually need to do?
The good news is it's not complicated. It takes effort, for sure, but the strategy is simple. And strategy number 1 is strength training.
And just to be clear, we're not talking about marathon running here.
No, cardio is great for other things, but it doesn't build significant muscle mass. The source specifies lifting weights or using resistance bands. The goal is to create that mechanical tension.
And what's the frequency? Do I have to live in the gym?
Not at all. The recommendation is 2 to 3 sessions a week. That is very, very manageable for most people.
2 to 3 times. That's totally doable. What should we focus on?
You want to cover the major muscle groups. Don't just do, wrist curls. You need to work the legs, the back, the arms, the big movers, squats, lunges, pushing movements, pulling movements. That's what provides the biggest metabolic bang for your buck.
Okay, so lift heavy things a few times a week. Got it. Now, fuel. Strategy number 2, protein. The research gets surprisingly specific here with the math. It does, and I love that because guessing just leads to undereating. The formula they provide is 1.6 to 2.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, daily.
Okay, let's pause and unpack that because those numbers can just fly by. Let's do the math. Say a listener weighs 80 kilograms, which is about 175 pounds.
Okay, 80 kilos.
If they aim for the middle of that range, say 2 grams per kilo, that's 160 grams of protein a day.
Right, 160 grams.
That feels like a lot. If I'm just eating a little meat at dinner, am I even getting close to that?
You're probably not. And this is where so many people fail. An egg has, 6 grams of protein? You have 2 eggs for breakfast, a salad for lunch, and a normal-sized piece of chicken for dinner. You might only be at 60 or 70 grams.
Wow, not even halfway there.
Not even close. You have to be intentional. You need to be looking at things like chicken, fish, eggs, beans, dairy, Greek yogurt. You really need a solid protein source at every single meal.
Why is that number so high? Why can't we just get by on less? It's because of something called anabolic resistance. As we age, our muscles get a little stubborn. They don't respond to protein as easily as they did when we were 20.
So you need more protein to get the same effect?
You need a louder signal to trigger muscle growth, and that signal is a higher dose of protein. It's a paradox. But you need more protein the older you get to do the same job.
Without the bricks, you can't build the house.
Exactly. And you can't build the house if the construction crew never sleeps. Which brings us to strategy 3, movement and recovery.
This is a crucial distinction. The workout is the stimulus, right?
Yeah.
But the growth happens during the rest.
Wait, say that again? That's so counterintuitive for people.
I know. But muscles grow when you rest, not while you're working out. In the gym, when you're lifting, you are actually tearing the muscle fibers down on a micro level. You're causing damage.
You are. It's when you sleep and when you take those rest days that your body repairs them stronger than they were before.
So sleep is non-negotiable.
Absolutely non-negotiable. And recovery doesn't just mean sitting on the couch doing nothing. The source encourages active recovery.
Like walking or something.
Exactly.
Right.
Walking, light cycling, swimming, yoga. Just keeping the body moving helps keep muscles flexible. Think of it as motion is lotion. It promotes blood flow, which brings all the nutrients to the muscles to speed up that repair.
Okay, and finally, strategy 4, tracking. How do we know any of this is working?
You look for the small wins. We tend to obsess over the number on the scale, but muscle is dense. The scale might not move down. It might even go up a little.
Which can be really scary for people who are conditioned to just want to be smaller.
Right, so the source says track performance instead. Look for improvements like lifting a little heavier or walking for longer without feeling tired.
It's so satisfying to see those numbers go up.
It is. It's validation.
Yeah.
If you could only lift 10 pounds last month and now you can lift 12, that is biological proof that you have reversed the aging process in that specific muscle.
I love that perspective. Okay, before we wrap up, we have to address the elephant in the room. Let's do some myth busting.
Let's do it.
Myth number 1, This is only for young people. I hear this all the time. Oh, I'm 60. I shouldn't be lifting weights. I might hurt myself.
That is just false, categorically false.
Yeah.
The source clearly states that strength training in your 60s or 70s improves energy, strength, and mobility. There are studies of people in their 90s starting resistance training and seeing significant muscle growth.
So you don't age out of it.
You never age out of physiology. Your cells will always respond to stimulus.
Which leads right into myth number 2. It's too late to start.
Never. It is never too late. The research is so clear on this. Even small gains make a massive difference. You might not become a professional bodybuilder if you start at 80, but you can build enough strength to get out of that chair easier, to walk with more confidence. And that difference is everything.
It really is. I love the motto from the source material. Strong muscles lead to strong years.
It's a powerful way to think about it. It shifts the focus from how do I look today to how will I live in 10 or 20 years.
So what does this all mean for you, the person listening right now?
If we just summarize everything, building muscle is about building a healthier, more independent future. It's an investment. You invest a few hours a week in the gym and some attention to protein in the kitchen, and the return on that investment is a longer, stronger, more vibrant life.
Absolutely. And speaking of being strong and vibrant, we have to talk about the philosophy behind this material. They use this great branding, Let's Roar.
I saw that, the lion logo. It's pretty striking.
Yeah, and the philosophy behind it is, once a lion, always a lion.
I think that speaks to the mindset, right? It's about your identity. You don't just stop being capable because the calendar turns a page. You have to maintain that lion mentality.
Exactly. Unleash the lion within. Don't let yourself become a house cat just because society kind of expects you to slow down.
Keep roaring, keep lifting, keep pushing back against that natural decline. It's about taking ownership of your own physical trajectory.
That is the message. Muscle is your armor. It's your engine, and it is your ticket to freedom. So don't neglect it. Prioritize it.
Start today. Just do one thing today that makes you a little bit stronger.
And on that note, we're going to wrap up this deep dive. We really hope this has changed the way you look at that dumbbell in the corner of your room.
It's not a paperweight. It's a longevity tool.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe. And in the meantime, let's roar.